$1 million in your 401k. Can you do it? In this video, I'm gonna give you a step-by-step guide on how to save your 401k up to $1 million. Contrary to what many people believe, your savings rate is far more important than how the market performs. And you don't have to wait until you're in your 60s to hit the $1 million mark. If you're on the financial independence journey to retire early like me, you can hit the 7-figure mark in your 401k, 403b, TSP, or some other type of employer-sponsored retirement accounts in your 40s or 50s. And keep in mind that I'm only going to talk about the 401k, and even if you don't have a 401k, the retirement investing fundamentals still apply to your 403b, 457, and TSP. If you're in your 20s or 30s watching this video, you are in the best position to save $1 million in your 401k because you have the time on your side. If you're in your 40s or 50s, you still have time to hit your $1 million, but you have to be much more aggressive with your savings rate. And I will explain it throughout this video. And I'm super excited to make this video because one, I'm a nerd and I love to nerd out these numbers with you so I can help you achieve your financial independence. And two, I know that making this video will make a huge difference. You're gonna hear in the comment section or TikTok or whatever about how 401k, 403b, or TSP is just a scam and that we are better with something like pensions. The reality is that you have way more control over your 401k than you do with your pension. You can manage your own 401k as far as what to invest, how you want to diversify your 401k portfolio. I'm going to give you the breakdown of the numbers instead of just telling you to increase your contribution every year. I'm going to break down the numbers by your age, 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. So feel free to skip ahead in the chapters below this video. I want to lay some rules when I work on the spreadsheet. I'm going to set it to a 7% annual average return with a minimum of 10 years. I think 7% is fair and very conservative given the current market condition. The S&P 500 is still performing 12.5% in return in the past 10 years. But that's because we were in the longest bull market run in the history of the US stock market. So we can't guarantee that we're going to have 12% going into in the next 12 years or 15 years. It's performed 6.85% since the year 2000. So the 7% average return is pretty conservative in my opinion. And I'm also going to assume that you're starting in the year 2023 with $0. And the contribution limit for the year 2023 is $22,500. I'm also not going to include any of the employer matches in this video because not everyone gets one. And I'm going to put the national average gross income based on the age group. So if you're making $100,000 a year, then the 5% contribution rate would be $5,000. So the first scenario is that you're in your 20s. And most people in their 20s, including myself, don't really think about retirement. The average income for ages 25 and 30 is about $50,000 a year. And I'm going to increase the income by about 2% every year starting in 2024 and increase your contribution by 1% every year starting with 5% and then max out at 15%. If you consistently do this, you will hit your $1 million mark by age 58, which is 34 years if you start at the age of 25 with a 7% annual average return. This is probably the most conventional way to do it if you're in your 20s, but you are in the best position to save even more if you decide to increase your contribution. And I also like to think that most people will have more than a 2% increase in income every time they switch jobs. And most people don't really think about their finances until they get married, have kids, or get themselves into financial trouble. And I was all of the above. If you're in a higher income bracket making $100,000 a year, some people do what's called a coast fire strategy. And coast fire is basically you save up and invest enough money early enough in life, and you just allow your existing investments to compound over time and grow enough to retire at the normal retirement age of 55 or 60. So instead of doing the contribution rate, they just contribute to the maximum contribution limit. So in 2023, the maximum contribution limit is $22,500. I'm going to leave the gross income and contribution rate blank because they're irrelevant if you're maxing out your contribution. I'm going to increase the contribution limit by $500 every year. So next year, it'll be $23,000, and then the year after that will be $23,500. With a 7% return, you could theoretically stop investing at age 30 and grow that portfolio from $181,000 to $1 million at age 56. I don't personally follow the coast fire strategy because if I stopped investing, I'm going to lose the opportunity to grow an even bigger 401k. And this strategy doesn't necessarily work in every age group because if you're in your 40s or 50s, time isn't exactly on your side. I don't think saving just $1 million by the year 2054 is simply enough with inflation. So if you decide to retire early at age 45, you could already have over $1.2 million invested in your 401k. But your 401k will continue to grow with a 7% average annual return, which will get you to about $3.5 million by the time you turn 60 when you're eligible to withdraw. And you can also get my financial independence resources, including these spreadsheets, for absolutely free by visiting firesightchat.com/contact. You can also check out my Fireside Chat shop to check out the books and equipment I use at firesightchat.com/shopping. And the second scenario is if you're in your 30s. And I didn't seriously start investing until I turned 30 years old in 2016 after I paid off over $110,000 in consumer debt. And the average income for Americans age 35 is about $62,000 a year, with a 2% increase in income every year and a 1% increase in contribution every year, starting at 5% and ending at 15%, you're gonna hit the $1 million mark when you turn 65 years old. That's about the normal retirement age for many people. And again, this is probably the most conventional way of investing in your 401k if your income is below $100,000 a year throughout your career. But let's say you make more than $100,000 a year, or you have the extra room in your budget to maximize your 401k contribution. With a $500 increase in annual contribution and a 7% annual return, you could have $1 million invested by the time you turn 53 years old. And what's awesome about compound interest is that the money inside a 401k will continue to grow even if you stop contributing to it. And the key to growing your portfolio is to invest as early as possible. Let me delete all of the contributions after the first year. And if you just invest $22,500 in the year 2023, that $22,500 will double every 9 years with a 7% return. And if you have a higher return, then obviously the money will double a lot faster. The money will also be 8x by the time you turn 65 years old. So think about how those interests compound year over year if you continue to maximize the contribution. And I'm gonna add $500 every year from 2024. You see how the money grows exponentially, right? And I know it's really hard to tell right now after we saw a bear market in 2022. I got a lot of comments on my videos if they should invest less in 2023 because of all the losses in 2022. My investment strategy hasn't changed, and I'm gonna continue to contribute the maximum amount of the 401k every single year. If the stocks were down 20% last year, then I am investing in those stocks at a 20% discount. And that's my investing mindset. And am I gonna worry about how the market performs this year or next year? Sure, but my investment strategy will remain the same because I'm not touching my 401k until I turn 59 and a half and beyond. And if you need help with your personal finances, like creating a budget or savings plan to achieve your financial independence, you can schedule a free one-on-one 20-minute financial coaching session by visiting firesightchat.com/coaching. Now let's talk about investing your 401k in your 40s. The average income for Americans age 45 is about $65,000 a year. So with a 2% increase in income every year and a 1% increase in contribution every year, starting at 5% and ending at 15%, you're gonna hit the $1 million mark when you turn 75 years old. This strategy is not gonna work because the spreadsheet has you working until you're 75 years old, and most people are gonna wanna retire by 65 or 70. So we're gonna have to adjust the contribution rate when you're in your 40s. You will need to contribute at least 25% of your income, making anywhere between $60,000 and $100,000 a year to get to $1 million by age 66. And saving 25% is not easy when you make $65,000 a year, and sometimes it's just unrealistic, especially if you live in an area where the expenses are high. I would start with 15% at the bare minimum and work on increasing the contribution every year by 1%. And being in your mid 40s, you want to work on increasing your income so that you can contribute more. And I know I sound like I'm stating the obvious here, right? But I thought it would be better just to show you the 401k calculator right next to me. But let's say you make more than $100,000 a year. or you have the extra income in your budget to maximize your 401k contribution, with a $500 increase in annual contribution and a 7% annual return, you could have $1 million invested by the time you turn 61 years old. Did you notice how the numbers change when you turn 50 years old right here? That's when you're eligible to make a catch-up contribution. So in 2023, you can contribute an additional $7,500 towards your 401k. And every dollar you contribute now in your 40s will matter to how you make the withdrawal in your 60s, okay? And let's say you go with a plan to max out your retirement for the next 17 years with $1 million or more, potentially investing in your 401k at age 62. The 4% withdrawal rate from your total portfolio is going to be at least $40,000 a year. If your portfolio consistently grows, going into your 70s and 80s, maintaining the 4% withdrawal rate will still allow you to withdraw even more money at $50,000, $60,000, or $80,000 because your portfolio has increased from $1 million to $2 million. And I strongly encourage you to check out this video about how to retire when we experience a bear market, linked in the description below. Now, let's talk about investing your 401k in your 50s. The average income for Americans age 50 is about $61,000 a year, with a 2% increase in income every year and a 1% increase in contribution every year, starting at 5% and ending at 15%. You're gonna hit the $1 million mark when you turn 78 years old. The likely scenario is that you stop working at 70, right? With over $500,000 saved. However, if you feel that $500,000 aren't gonna be enough, you need to figure out if you have any other income sources or how much money you'll receive from Social Security each year. Because the 4% withdrawal rate of $500,000 is $20,000 a year. And if you collect another $20,000 a year in Social Security, that's potentially $40,000 a year in retirement income. But in your 50s, you have to seriously consider being more risk averse. I'm 36 years old right now. And by the time I'm 50, my expenses should be lower because my kid is going to be an adult and my primary home should be paid off. If your non-discretionary expenses are high because you're still paying a mortgage on your primary home, you want to work on paying off your mortgage because the chances of your health deteriorating are much higher than those in their 30s or 40s. And what if you can't physically work anymore at age 55, but you still owe a mortgage on your primary home? What if you can't contribute to your 401k anymore? Those are the things, and these are the things that I'm gonna be thinking about when I'm in my 50s. You'll have a better chance to hit the $1 million mark if you're aggressively investing in your 401k. If investing 25 or 30% of your income is putting you in a difficult position, you have to find a way to get a bigger shovel since you have nothing investing in your retirement so far. At the bare minimum, you should invest at least 15% of your income after your debts are paid off, except for your mortgage. And at the same time, I would make additional payments toward my mortgage so that I can pay it off before I retire from the workforce. You might hear something like, well, I could lose my opportunity to invest in the stock market. When I'm in my 50s though, my risk management is completely different from when I'm in my 40s and 30s because I don't have a lot of time left until I reach my retirement age, right? So if I'm in my 50s, I probably want to retire at 60. So I'm not paying down my primary home right now because I'm investing the difference to make a bigger return for the next 20 or 30 years. It's not the same if I'm in my 50s because I might not have the next 20 or 30 years to see my investment grow. I might need that money within the next 10 years. Your average annual return might be lower than 7% to 5% or 6% because you're probably taking a conservative approach to your 401k investments based on your age. If that's the case, making $1 million in your 401k could take a little bit longer, but how much you save will still matter a lot more than how the market performs. And here's a question I always get in the comment section. But Sai, what if we get a negative 20% return again like we did in 2022? So if I'm in my 50s and see a negative 20% return, that could be devastating to me if 401k is my only investment portfolio and I'm close to my retirement age. If 401k is my only retirement portfolio, I would do more research or talk to an advisor or expert to make sure that my investment portfolio isn't too exposed to something too risky. This is not in any form of financial advice. My financial journey is not the same as yours because I don't just have my TSP, which is the federal government version of the 401k, but I also have my Roth IRA, HSA, and multiple taxable investment accounts. And when I'm in my 20s, 30s, or 40s, it's irrelevant to me how the market performs in 1 year. I would be more concerned about how my investments have performed in the past 5 or 10 years, or what the economic condition might be in the next 5 or 10 years. Take a look at VOO, which is one of my favorite ETFs in my taxable brokerage account, and everybody's panicking, right? And when they see a negative 18 or 19%, if you just look at the 1 year chart, right? And this is the S&P 500, has been around for almost 80 years. And I'm more confident in the US economy than I am with the Chinese or Russian economies or the European markets. Do you think companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Tesla, and JP Morgan are going to go bankrupt in the next 5 to 10 years? If they do, we have a much bigger problem to worry about than the stock market. I believe that these companies will continue to grow going into 2030s and 2040s. I wouldn't be surprised if Apple has a $5 trillion market cap. And I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla invents flying EVs in the future. And I invest in US stocks because I believe in the US economy in the long term. And if you want to know more about how to invest in your 401k and my early retirement strategy, be sure to check out these 2 videos. So with that said, I appreciate you watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe. I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good one.